Tim and I in the studio. Tim, how you doing?
I'm okay. Same as I was 20 minutes ago.
Fantastic, top man. Oh, let's get the mic in there. Sorry, we're missing the mic. So we are pre-Watchers and Wonders. Tim and I have just recorded an episode on Panerai. You may have watched. If you did, thank you very much. We're now moving on to another conversation, which is one that has captivated watch lovers for millennia.
Yeah.
And it is the subject of what would you do with £100,000 or US dollars?
Great British pounds.
GBP. What would you do with £100,000 if you could on the secondary market, pre-owned watches? What would you be doing? What would you be buying?
A 3-watch collection.
Now, this is the point here, Tim. This is the point. Now, we haven't discussed this at length. Does it have to be 3? Because, of course, the first consideration... So the first consideration is it's second-hand. So secondary market, pre-owned market. Yeah. Now, that changes things considerably.
It does.
And also the fact that does it have to be more than one watch? Because, of course, that then fundamentally changes things.
It sounds to me like you've got 100k watch in your bag there.
I have bought a watch roll. You've bought a watch roll as well, sir.
I have, yeah.
For the fun of it, should we just open end it to say, look,
as many as you want.
As many as you want.
Yeah.
As many as you want. Because I think that changes the dynamic significantly.
Yeah.
I've thought about this long and hard, and the truth is, I don't have the answer. So I'm going to ask Tim to go first here because I actually don't know what I'm going to say.
That's all right, freestyle.
But
I have thought about it because I do my homework.
You do your homework today?
Yeah, I do.
He's not coming back after that. This will be the last time you see Tim on the channel.
It's all right, I'll carry you.
But the question is, truthfully here, like, number one, £100,000, an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
We've got to just keep our heads in this squarely. And I know that we lose it sometimes when we talk about these things. Awful lot of money. Most people, I mean, we're talking the average house price in the UK, I think, is £240,000. Wow. So that's the average. So we're talking about £100,000, huge amount of money.
About lucky boys and girls, and a very privileged position.
Very, very privileged.
Yeah.
Would you want to? I guess that's the first point. Would you want to spend £100,000, arguably on one watch that you would be wearing every day?
On one watch, I have done. And I didn't enjoy it particularly, which is why I don't have that £100,000.
What was the watch? It's
a Patek 3970.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's a Grail watch.
Most people would. That was a watch that came into my mind. That's been climbing and climbing in value. Where are we now at price points? I don't know.
Well, they're 120 plus, really. But when I bought in, it was 100 mark.
Was it the cost that was the prohibitive factor for you wearing it?
Well, it's that and the fact that it's quite a delicate watch. The door frame felt magnetic. It felt like I was drawn towards it and I was going to get a big dink out of the side of it. Also, I mean, I'm going to get some even more hate mail for this, but a perpetual calendar that's manual wind is a bit of a faff. And I'm someone that enjoys, winding a watch over the morning, but I've got a lot of watches. I'm very lucky, touch wood. And so I do have some time in between watches. I keep things in safes and I get them out 1 month, put them away another month. And so if you have to go through that setting plus winding, it can be quite time consuming and you enjoy it the first handful of times and then you're in a rush because I'm always in a rush. And then you just don't wear that watch. So that with the sort of the delicate fragility of it made me think it's probably not the right watch for me right now. I also have young kids who are prone to throwing things, and including watches. And for that reason.
So what you're basically saying is that you're not going to blow your load. For lack of a better term, on the 100,000.
There are many better terms than that.
On the £100,000, is that right?
Yeah.
Have I read you right?
Now, I mean, if I was offered a Patek 5740 G on bracelet for £100,000, that could be a one watch. That's very slender. It's complicated. It's beautiful in my eyes. That could be a contender, but they're 170. And then you start to think, well, that's an awful lot of money. I get to the point where if you spend a lot of money on a watch, I start to look at it and think, oh, that could be a 911, and then I execute on that, and then my wife tells me I'm not allowed another car, and I'm back to square one.
It's either a bike, a road bike for you,
Yep.
or it's a car,
Yeah,
or
I've
it's
got
a
plenty of
watch.
those.
And that's your issues. You're fighting on so many fronts that
Yeah.
thank God I'm only fighting on the one front. But we all hear you.
Yes.
So Tim Boyd, let's get into it. What are you picking?
Okay. So, for me and my lifestyle, for my hobbies, and everything that I do in life, at the moment, dress watches work better for me than sports watches. So I've chosen 3 watches, 2 of which are dress. I actually enjoy time-only watches, typically, but for balance, I've left my sports watch time only, and I've got some interesting and iconic complications in my dress watches. So I'm going to start with, and this is 2 of these. The dress watches are from my collection, and the sports watch is something I've borrowed from our dear friend Raoul, the Watch Clog. Please go and check him out. He's if you think you've got a problem, then
He's got a
then he'll
serious
he'll
problem.
make you feel
Raoul.
much better.
He's a connoisseur, though.
Yeah,
a real
no, he's
connoisseur.
he's a great person. So I'm going to talk about a watch that I've talked to you about recently, but
Yes.
it would absolutely be one of the 3. This is the Cartier CPCP Tour 2 Monopoussoir, and this is the first generation with the Roman 12 on it, in white gold, white and blue dial, 34mm case, and very importantly, some real watchmaking chops. This is a mono-pusher chronograph movement that was created by THA, who were a team of F.P. Jean, Vianney Halter, exactly, Dean Flageolet, and those guys have all gone on to do really, really interesting and important things, and will continue to. And for me, having something that's created by Cartier, the kings of design, with the importance of that watchmaking, those 2 things thrust together on a watch that, for me, works so elegantly. It wears so well. It gets adoration everywhere I take it. It's my favourite. It's
How long
my
ago did you
favourite.
buy that? How many
Well,
years
God, I bought. This is my second one. The first one that I bought, actually bought from Mr. Enthusiast, Mr. Phil Toledano,
Oh, he had one.
and
Of course.
and I bought that from him off of Instagram, and loved it for a very long time. Actually, that was about 5 years ago, probably, and these were when values were fairly depleted versus where we are. And that was a watch that had been, lovingly worn, but had been. These are rhodium plated white gold, so when you polish them, they have that sort of shadow that comes through, and so it needed replating. I replated it. It lost some of the crispness that you get with it. And
How do you replate it? Is that
well,
through Cartier?
it's rhodium replating. Yeah, you take it to Cartier and they'll do that. But they the rhodium is only microns thick. But when you're looking at these things, you lose the definition in the engravings. Particularly, you lose some of the edges to the case, and it got to me after a while. And I wanted the perfect example because it's one of my all-time favourite watches. So I found this example, which is a full set, unpolished, absolute beauty, and this is the one that I'm hopefully going to keep, touch wood.
So your first purchase is about 40-ish.
Yeah,
Call it 45, maybe.
let's call it 42, just so that the
42,
numbers
just to be
add up.
safe. Just to be safe. Okay. Current market price. We're approaching April 2025.
Yes.
So when people watch this in 10 years' time and they say
course.
it's a 200,000 or
Well,
300,000
look,
pound watch,
I-
has it got the potential to be that?
I'm not allowed to give a financial advice.
Yeah,
But look,
you're
I'm
not
putting-
a financial advisor. You're not
No, I'm
accredited
not.
by the
But
FCA. You're not
I'm putting 40+ thousand pounds of my own money
into
behind it,
Yeah.
and I do that with some consideration of the opportunities that exist out there. I'm fairly close to the market, as you know. So for me, I
Make
think
of that, folks, what you want.
yeah, yeah.
Good
and
man.
So moving
Brilliant stuff.
Moving on to the next one. is another watch that's having a moment at the moment.
Yeah.
And this is the Patek Philippe 3940, which is a perpetual calendar. This is a yellow gold J second series. So it's an early second series, very early, in fact. Closed case back. It has a deployant. I've actually got it on the Patek Tang buckle because I prefer Tang buckles. I find them easier to use and slightly more comfortable. But this is a watch, as I said to you before, the 3970 is something that I love and still lust after. But the manual wind plus the chronograph is, I've got chronographs. We've talked about a chronograph that I have. I like that this is a perpetual calendar and just a perpetual calendar. And with that comes a sleekness, a slenderness that I think makes for one of the most perfect wearing dress watches. It's 36 millimeters, it's 8 millimeters thick approximately. The dial is beautiful, it's perfectly balanced, and I think they're undervalued.
Talking about fonts and typography as well, it's just it's a gem, it's a jewel, it's
Yes,
a treasure trove that keeps giving.
Yes. Well,
Can I have a quick look at that?
oh,
Sorry,
no,
Brad.
well, of course.
It's a watch that you and our dear friend Jake from A Man in Time. That's
yes.
yeah, Man in Time. That's
Yeah.
Jake.
Yeah,
You know,
has one.
he has just gone bonkers for it, and
with
have so
with
many
good
others.
reason.
Yeah, for so many others. But
I don't know why it's taken so long for that watch to really capture the audience that it now has. But you look at Ben Dunn from
Gorgeous
Watch Brothers London.
no one's done more for the model
No,
from a education, from a scholarship perspective.
yeah, he's got a lot of love for it, and it's infectious. And I really think that is one of the reasons that the market has turned a new form of interest in it. I adore that thing.
Interestingly, the pricing varies considerably. That's one thing I learned
yeah.
from Ben, was the fact that those early models with particular subdial configurations where the subdial sunk in, for example, and those very
Yes,
early
that's
ones.
the first series, they are, 60, 70. They're a lot of money. They really are. But I think justifiably, there was, it's been written that there are 1,000 examples of the first series. Actually, we now know from the work that Ben's done that it's more like 700. And in fact, that example that you're wearing is number 721 or something like that.
Wow.
So it's one of the very early second series. And the watch moved on to come with a sapphire case back with subtle changes in the dial, but I think all of them, frankly, are wonderful. And
The colour you've gone for on the strap is wonderful.
It's
The
lovely, eh?
Blue, butter
yeah,
soft.
I know.
I admire the simplicity of it. I admire this is Patek. This is Patek.
Yes.
Quite simply, for me,
Yes.
this is Patek. And the symmetry on the dial, the intrigue of these different. I mean, the way it is presented is just beautiful. The moon phase is a piece of art in itself. It's just a wonderful thing. The only issue I've got, as will be no surprise to you, is just the size, just a tiny bit small for me. But I'm gonna get some heat for that. I know it is, Tim. I know it is. Shit, it's good though.
it's good, eh?
It is so good.
And for me, one thing that cements its place in my 3-watch collection is that Philippe Stern, who could have chosen any watch in that catalogue at that time, he chose to wear that as his everyday piece. And I think that speaks volumes, right? If it was me, I probably would choose a minute repeater, but or split second
So
chronograph.
you sir have spent. What are we talking there? Are we talking
that's
another?
40 that's 43.
Okay. Oh god, we are getting down to the real nuts and bolts of it.
Oh yeah, sorry, I've
So
done
my
some
maths
as
is
well.
not good. So we're talking 80.
85.
85
on
grand,
those
you're all
two.
in.
So I've got 15. 15
Is
to
that a
go.
full set as well? You can get a full set for 40ish.
Full sets probably not, but
Your watch only. You're looking at that as a good example.
Archive papers.
You're
is what
happy
you
with
want.
that. You're
Yeah.
happy with that. The
Archive
example's
papers,
good.
incidentally, are becoming more and more difficult to get from Patek. They like to shoehorn in a service or two. So once you've got that, then they'll give you an archive paper. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today.
You've gone for another icon, I see. You've gone for an
All
icon.
icons, yeah, all icons. And this is a watch that I've wanted to find the right example of for a long time. And Raoul, the lucky bugger that he is, had the opportunity before I did, and he picked this up, and it's an unbeatable example. So until I find one that's as good, I won't be buying one. This is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. It's a 56175 in tantalum and steel. So that is a 33mm case. I know. But it's created in tantalum, which is reassuring.
It's not the Nick Faldo edition,
heavy.
is it?
Well, it's called the Championship version, which I
Okay.
think was called, if you look about, it's called the Boys version, which came out as part of a Nick Faldo collection. There's 2,000 of them, but the majority of them look like they've been, put through, I don't know, the ringer somewhere, and they're all saggy and not very appealing. I think when a Royal Oak loses its definition, it loses its appeal to me. And this is one that's stunning. This is a very early execution. It's got the sans serif text in the Audemars Piguet. It's got the unsigned crown. These are things that help you understand whether it's an early one or not. It's still the thinnest Royal Oak that's ever been made. It's quartz, of course, but it doesn't have a running seconds, so who cares? I don't.
It's a tennis watch, as you always say.
Yes, it is.
It's a tennis watch in that sense.
I know it is.
But tantalum has got real heft to it. It's got a real presence, almost like platinum.
And as Tim Mosso will say every time he talks about a Royal Oak, the case size wears bigger than the dimensions because of the integrated bracelet. It hangs much wider. It's not just the case you need to take into account. It's the first one or two links as well. So if you're used to wearing a 36mm Datejust, for instance, you'll get a very similar feel in size from this, but much more slender and elegant. I love the subtle contrast between steel and tantalum. Tantalum's a very difficult metal to work with, as we know, and from the chronometric blur and other such watches. This is a very cool thing. It's a very cool thing that's overlooked because the case size says 33 and it says quartz, but you don't need to worry about those two things. So this is £15,000 of your money. Wait until you can find a very good one, if you can beat me to it. And if not, then I'm going to keep it in my 3-watch collection here, and that takes me to £100,000. Justin, over to you.
She's Tim Boy, well done. Very, very, very impressive. I had no idea what you're bringing to this. That's
Yeah, well.
brilliant. I've been sitting here just mulling this over, and I'm really
You
struggling.
look like you weren't listening to me.
I'm really, really struggling. Some honourable mentions, because I'm thinking you could get very excited about this opportunity, and one should, but it can distract you from the realities of these things about what you would actually wear. What would you actually wear? There was a 36mm brass movement FP Journe Octa Reserve with a sparkly sort of brownish dial, 38mm white gold, that I tried on at Bonhams last year, that was in a sale, that really just sent a shiver down the spine. That sold for probably 65, 70-ish, which was, I think, relatively approachable given the estimate was maybe a little bit higher. I've had an Elegant. I've not talked about that being sold actually, but you kindly sold it for me, Tim, at Subdial. I had my time with it and I enjoyed it a great deal, but from a wearability standpoint, nothing came close to how good it was. But the fact it was quartz sort of got on top of me a little bit. And the price, the combination of being quartz and the price,
plus
40,000 pay, just to me, as someone who doesn't lose sight for a second of the pricing of these things, that was a little bit much to swallow. I'm going to call out the Romain Gaultier C, as we always do, because everyone we know that's got one raves about it. Everyone we know who's got one,
and there aren't. I know we operate in that circle where there are a few that we know of, but really there are very few.
Very few. We're talking runs of 20. And we're talking 5 or 6 editions. So
tiny.
And I'm just thinking that needs to be called out. I'm also going to call out 2 more. The Jumbo Royal Oak Perpetual Calendar in yellow gold from the late 1980s, early 1990s.
4 and 5 digit ones.
Yeah, non-tapestry. Not non-tapestry dial, but stick hands. I've shared it with you before. I just think they've suddenly sort of dropped in price. I think with AP's innovation around perpetual calendars now, they will probably continue to soften just for the meantime. But in the longer term, I think they'll be much more interesting.
I do.
As pushers.
It does feel like after everything that came with the 50th anniversary of the Royal Oak, there's a little bit of fatigue on that model. I say that as someone that's got one in my 3-watch collection because I adore it, but they really went to town with it.
But it was the first. It was the first. The type font, even the inscription on the sort of beautiful italicized font that they stamped on the case back of those models, just stunning.
Yeah.
So, but a good example of those, and I've gone down the rabbit hole there, you can get them for sort of 50, 60k, awful lot of money, but the really good examples are sort of upwards of 80, 90, 100.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the difficulty. So that didn't feature, but it was an honourable mention. 5070, Patek 5070, the chronograph, the Lemania based chronograph, which we talked about again.
The one that people overlook because of its size, but they turn a blind eye to that fact if it's made of platinum.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's significantly.
See, the difference in values between white gold and platinum on that model is
incredible.
It's bananas. I mean, I know the platinum's rarer, and blue and platinum is a winning combination, but it doesn't justify that difference in value, I think.
I've never felt, I feel very uninspired by modern Patek.
Yeah.
But that's a model for me, size-wise. I love the presence and the audacity of it at 42mm.
Yeah.
The tiered case, that vintage caliber, it's Patek for me.
Movement, which I think is amazing.
So look, I've given some honorable mentions, but the bottom line is I'm going back to what I have. You know, and I think we've got to get to the point. And two of the three you own yourself.
I do. So I'm on the hunt always for the third.
So for me, I'm going back to what I actually have, because ultimately I have them for a reason, and I wear them, and I wear them. There we go. I wear them. So I should probably start with this one, which is
2 dress and 1 sports.
Yeah, 2 dress and 1 sports.
Do you think that's the ratio for you?
Yes, I'm still.
Because you're a sporty guy.
I'm a sporty guy, but intuitively still drawn to dress watches. Strangely, but I love wearing dress watches down. In an informal way.
I do too.
That's my favourite.
Take them straight off of an alligator strap and onto something that's Saffiano or calf or suede or whatever.
You got me this watch. It's an absolute Grail watch. It's the 101 027X white gold. It was the front cover of The Watch that my friend Stephen Pulver and Gene Stone wrote many years ago. He chose the steel version, which is identical looking, but this is the white gold.
Yes.
Whenever I handle it, I'm always struck by the quality of it. It's a design that really was my pin-up growing up through the years. I always thought Lange 1 just such an amazing watch, and it does deliver that. It just delivers it. I've spoken at length to a friend about the case, to which I think that might be one of the most spectacular cases ever made.
Yeah.
The market softened a little bit on them. It's painted dial, so a little bit more informal as well. They used to be at sort of, well, God, this watch may have been the watch sold at Philips. We think it may be, because it came with the Philips strap for close to 100,000 at the peak. You know, it came down to sort of the 40s, mid-40s, where we were and on that. So I'm going to call it 40 on there now.
Yes.
But, you know, maybe they've softened by a little bit since then. But
maybe they've, the opposite of softened, hardened.
Maybe they've hardened. We don't really know. But we believe great, rare watches like that. And that's a watch you would see in a Philips catalogue.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a watch for the future. Full set from New York, from Wempe in New York, where they seemingly all went. So that's my first pick, 40k. It's an absolute icon.
Worth saying, I think that it's the sort of Goldilocks Lange 1 for me. You know, there are lots of subtle differences between the Lange 1 cases, but for me, white gold is brilliant. The dial that's printed is lovely. Blued hands is lovely, and the fact that it's 99.9% the same as the steel version, which makes hundreds of thousands of pounds at auction, I think it's actually quite fun.
I should just put it on the wrist just so you can see how well it sits. I mean, again, this is 38.5 with a thick case, a thick bezel.
Yeah.
Every time I put it on, the quality speaks to me. It just speaks to me, and I'm not interested in, you know, Lange. You were joking because we did a film recently where you thought I gave you some evils about talking about Lange's servicing costs.
Yes.
I may well have done subliminally, but actually I don't engage with. I've not had to, thankfully.
Since that time, I've had a service receipt estimate back from Lange, and they're back in my good books.
Oh, okay. They've softened. They've softened a little bit there. So I just think ultimately we're talking iconic designs. This is beyond a design. This is beyond a watch. This is a statement of design. So I just think, love the bit buckle. 40k. I've got another 40k watch here. Slightly more at retail. It's softened off retail just a little bit. I'm going to put this watch at 40k. It's my sports choice. It's in titanium, grade 5 titanium, very, very hard to polish, very hard to work with, amazing to wear. This is the Laurent Ferrier Sport Auto. I've been harking on about this watch for a long time now. Controversial, I know, because you like the watch, but I've heard you comment in the past that maybe you would have liked the bezel to be removed. This is a watch that I think is really intriguing because Laurent Ferrier is one of my absolute favourite brands out there, but really intriguing because he was a man that had fundamental impact on the Nautilus, taking the 2D Nautilus design to make it 3D from Girogente, and then of course the Aquanaut while he's at Patek Philippe. He has the respect and dignity for Patek not to discuss those things publicly, but I know that a lot of his own design, which I believe is one of the best in the whole of watchmaking, was involved in those two watches. So we've got this, and we've got this insanely sporty micro rotor caliber on the back that has not missed a beat since I've had it. Truly keeps incredible time. Blue dial, green lume,
Blue dial as well. It's nice.
And I'm not a bracelet guy. But this thing just wears in titanium. I don't wear another watch more often, and that is a fact. I'm going to struggle to put it on this wrist because I never.
The bracelet feels like a president bracelet from Rolex, but in titanium.
Exactly.
Which is cool because the president bracelet works well.
I'm not a bracelet guy, but it is just so supple. I've slept in this. I've talked about sleeping. I love this watch.
Yeah,
anyway,
I love this. Sleeps in watches.
I'm the only one that sleeps in watches. That's a subject for another time. Anyway, 4040. I'm at 80k, and my final pick is a watch that the movement, at least, was described by Carrie Vousselin in the 4400 caliber from Vacheron as the most aesthetic and easily serviceable modern caliber developed by any big brand.
Easily serviceable is, I think, it's not necessarily a benefit to me as an owner. Like, I know that probably translates. I should clarify that statement. It's just not a very sexy thing to say about a watch, is it? You know, it's
easily
one of my
serviceable caliber.
It's easier serviceable.
It's the first thing that comes to mind, but I should say the thing's just, to me, drop dead gorgeous in
Yes,
yellow gold.
Absolutely. Look, you know me. I love the 1921. I really do. Really, really do.
There's nothing else like it.
No,
There's nothing else like it. And the thick painted dial, I believe the dial came from F. Pigeon, the same facility as F. Pigeon. The snailed sub dial, which has this very contrasting setup when you see it from a distance. Cushion case, we've touched on how much we love cushion cases in other companies.
Really great strap choice as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
This was actually Jean Rousseau 1 of 1 that I had. Look, one stitch there.
Oh yeah.
Just yellow gold for me on this cushion case. I just think Vacheron has an air about it of old school glamour, and the 1921 is Vacheron to me in so many ways.
I personally would prefer applied breguets on there rather than printed.
Okay.
I really would, because it's it's like it's a quirky, I guess, playful dress watch, and with that, I think printed is slightly more pedestrian. And that's why I like it in a German watch. I like printed in a German watch, but I like applied in others.
In like the
others.
Pateks of the world and the Vacherons
Yeah.
Do you know what's interesting? It's just the thickness, and it's the numerals themselves, the sort of breguets, like very sort of ornate. They're very, very ornate. Yeah. It's the font that they've gone for there, which just gets me every time.
Yes.
Just you could well be right, and they did variations. They have done variations.
Well,
with
they have,
They've done
there's
applied.
a platinum with applied.
There's a platinum, and the Arabic.
Yes.
What's the correct?
Arabic dial.
The Arabic dial, yeah. But Timbo, there we go. So I'm going to call this 20. So I'm going to call this 20 in the secondary market, which may be undercooking, but we've got 80, 90, 100.
Yeah.
That's my 100 spent.
Yeah.
3 watches that I can only say that I wear them all an awful lot, and that ultimately is the acid test of any collection. So perfect.
And so do I. By the way, I mean I'd like to wear Rouse, but I'm not going to.
Did you not have a deal with them? You don't have a deal with them to make it work.
No. But I agree with you. I think if you're going to spend that kind of money, they shouldn't sit in a safe somewhere. They should be worn and enjoyed.
And I should say that in some ways, I'm pleased that we've gone for 3, but I leave it open to everyone in the comments below what you would go for.
Yes.
But
and who won the battle?
Who won the battle? Tell us who the hell won the battle. We need to know. Call us out, please. We will respond. Tim and I, we will always respond. But also, watch collecting is sort of like a buffet. You've got to go and enjoy a bit of everything. And you've got some iconic designs. Yeah. In fact, it's got to be enjoyed. You can't limit yourself to just the spag bowl. You've got to go and try a bit of everything there. On that note, thank you guys as always for joining us.
Thank you.
Tim, thank you. Catch you soon. Cheers.